So ranking is not reflective of the country at large. We don't yet have a survey that captures the real experience of business people around the country. Having a strong labor union is not necessarily an anti-business thing. To understand the reality of the global market, right? And not really get stuck in the past Marxist nostrums. In terms of India's ranking in ease of doing business, right? I think we should understand how World Bank constructs this index. Right? So in case of India, they look at two cities, Delhi and Mumbai, right? And they survey those two cities and business which are opening up in those two cities, and that's how they then construct an index comparing India with the rest of the countries. Right? In most countries, they look at one or two cities like this. This is the capital city of the country that they investigate. Right? So ranking is not reflective of the country at large. Right? At least in case of India, you can easily imagine the business life in Mumbai and Delhi is very different than much of the rest of the India. Right? And so the ranking, whatever that may be, is not really capturing what's happening outside those two cities. Right? One can argue, even does it really capture what happens in these two cities at all? Right? Which is also a question. Right? How accurate is that index in capturing real life on the ground? So that's a larger methodological sort of debate around the index itself, right? Which World Bank is still trying to figure out how to deal with those criticisms. So one thing is sure, that India certainly has focused very clearly on ease of doing business, right? And the current government, from the day one, that has been a focus for the government, right? And they have tried very hard to repeal, amend laws, right? So the work that we have done also has been received very favorably by the government, right? For example, minimum capital requirement. So if you were to start a business in India, you had to put some minimal capital before you can start a business, right? You are starting a very small business which doesn't even require that kind of capital. Right? Why would you force the person to have capital in hand to start a business, which makes no sense in a poor country like India, right? So we lobbied hard against that requirement, and government actually repealed the requirement quite promptly. So many of these changes are happening. I think what we don't have is an understanding of how this impacts on the ground, right? So we don't yet have a survey that captures the real experience of business people around the country, or even in Bombay and Delhi, for that matter. Right? All that we have is what the paper document looks like, and how the requirements in law have changed. Right? That is, of course, one good thing. You cannot deny that's a good thing, right? But we don't really know how the legal changes are impacting life on the ground. That kind of information we still don't have. I think when I came back to India, looking at the labor laws, I have a very similar view. Our laws are very outdated, very stringent, quite anti-business, right? Over the years, with my experience in other Western countries, particularly European countries, right? I see that having a strong labor union is not necessarily an anti-business thing. Right? You could have a strong labor union and still have a very pro-business environment overall. Right? Because labor has self-interest in successful business. Right? Any labor leader knows that I cannot guarantee jobs for my members unless the company where they are employed remains profitable. Right? The company doesn't remain profitable, there's just no way I can force companies to stay open. Right? We did try to do that in India, as you know, in the past. It has been a disaster even for the labor, not just for the capitalists, but even for the labor. Right? So I think having a strong union is not necessarily anti-business. So what we need to figure out is how can we match both together. So how can we, in a sense, I don't want to say educate, but maybe that's the right word, labor union leaders, right, to understand the reality of the global market, right, and not really get stuck in the past Marxist nostrums, right, about exploitation of the labor and all of that. Right? And to understand that this is a joint effort. Right? You need capital, you need labor, you need entrepreneurship, right? As we very well understand in basic economics, you need all those factors of production working together, right? Only then you can have successful business, right? Only then you can have job guarantees. Only then you can have rising wages, right? All of that is dependent on making that business function well, right? I think labor unions need to understand that as opposed to being antagonistic, right? Which is what we have currently largely a climate of fighting against each other. So I think that's what needs to be looked at, rethought.